Whitney Ward. Just hours ago, a Spokane woman arrested during a protest that was turning violent in downtown Atlanta appeared in a Georgia courtroom. The 22-year-old woman, along with 5 other protesters, now face charges of domestic terrorism for their part in that protest. We want to go straight to KREM 2's Mark Hanrahan now, who's been tracking this developing story for us tonight. Mark, what do we know about these arrests so far?
Well, Whitney, this is what the streets of downtown Atlanta looked like on Saturday night after a protest over the death of an environmental activist turned violent. Masked activists dressed in all black threw rocks and lit fireworks in front of a skyscraper that houses the Atlanta Police Foundation. Windows were smashed and a police cruiser was also set on fire. Video shows 22-year-old Madeline Fiola from Spokane being taken into custody by police. We'll see it here. In addition to the domestic violence charges, she is facing first-degree arson, second-degree criminal damage, and interference with government property, charges that are all felonies. All 6 suspects, including Fiola, appeared in court this afternoon. Just 2 of the people arrested were granted bond today. The 4 others, including Fiola, have been held without bond because the judge said they posed a flight risk. In reaction to these arrests, the mayor of Atlanta says most people at that protest were peaceful.
They had a protest last night, and it was peaceful. But there were some individuals within that crowd that meant violence. They had explosives. They burned down a police car. They broke windows at businesses. And so our police department, along with our state and federal partners, took swift action within 2 blocks and brought that situation under control.
According to reports from the AP and CBS, Saturday night's protest followed the death of a local activist who went by the name Tortuguita, who was shot and killed by a Georgia state trooper as law enforcement tried to clear protesters from the side of a planned public safety training center. Authorities say the trooper fired in self-defense, but activists questioned that account. We have been looking into Fiola's connection to Spokane. It appears someone by that same name graduated from Lewis and Clark High School in 2018. And after that, it appears from social media, she went to college in Ohio, then appears to have moved to Portland. This continues to be a developing story that we are looking into. We'll have the very latest on KREM.com. Whitney.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. And another victim of Saturday night's mass shooting in Monterey Park, California has now died, bringing the death toll there to 11, and 9 others were wounded. A candlelight vigil is planned for tonight. The shooting happened in the midst of a group of mostly Asian American seniors who were celebrating the Lunar New Year. That was on Saturday night. The LA County Sheriff identified the suspects, who authorities say after about a half an hour after the first shooting entered another dance hall, then 3 miles away. A man working there says he wrestled the gun away from the suspect, who then fled in a white van. Police say the gunman then took his own life inside that white van on Sunday. Today, investigators were searching the suspect's home as they try to determine a motive behind this massacre, although they still have not reached any conclusions. Back here at home this afternoon, the man suspected of shooting and killing a woman in Douglas County made his first court appearance. Witnesses said they saw the woman fall out of a vehicle on Badger Mountain Road. After the car stopped, a man identified as Dalton Potter allegedly got out and shot the woman and then shot at the witness's car. Potter's now been charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. The trial for the man accused of killing a Spokane man for practice just months before killing his ex-wife begins today. A jury convicted Nathan Beal already of first-degree murder. That was last February. His ex-wife, Mary Schaefer, came to Spokane to pick up their 2 children. She was parked outside of his Browns Addition apartment when Beal shot her. During the course of the investigation, though, into her murder, detectives connected Beal to the death of another man, Andrew Bull, who was living on the streets at the time. Prosecutors believe this is the man that the Beal killed for practice just 4 months before killing his ex-wife. Andrew's family shared with KREM 2 exclusively how they're feeling headed into trial.
My son needs justice, and even though I wish it would have been sooner, I'm glad it's here. I would be lying if I didn't say I was scared.
A judge previously ruled the 2 murders would be tried separately. That's why Beal is already sentenced to nearly 32 years in prison for Mary's death. The jury selection for this trial related to Andrew's death started this morning. Opening statements from attorneys will begin tomorrow morning. And detectives are still investigating a crash from over the weekend that killed a motorcyclist. They're asking for witnesses to please come forward with information. It happened Friday around midnight on the Sprague on-ramp to westbound I-90. The victim's identity still has not been released, but Washington State Patrol says he lost control of the motorcycle, was then thrown from the bike, and was hit by at least one passing car. And law enforcement says that car didn't stop.
Especially when the vehicle that was involved leaves the scene, we either want to reach out to that person, which they may or may not have known that they've been involved in something like this, or we want to reach out to anyone that may have witnessed this that doesn't know how to, reach out, or doesn't know necessarily how involved that this collision is. So we typically just want to reach out to as many people as possible. So maybe someone heard something from their friend, or might have some information that could be helpful to this case.
And it's also possible the victim was hit by more than one car. So if you know or saw anything that night, please call WSP. We've got that number right there on your screen. You can also get more on our website. Just go to KREM.com. And an update now after last week's reservoir failure in Lewiston. A boil order will remain in effect as crews there are still working to make repairs. Last Wednesday, 3 million gallons of water suddenly flooded city streets, washing away parts of the streets and sidewalks and flooding some homes. But in order to fix the problem, city leaders say they have to make sure that it won't put too much pressure on other parts of the water system. And when the reservoir is taken offline, the normal water flow will be significantly impacted. Right now, they are working with the Department of Environmental Quality to try and come up with what they are calling creative solutions. All right, on that note, let's talk weather right now. A little fresh round of snow over the weekend, making things definitely feel more like winter and January in Spokane like we are used to. Our meteorologist Michelle Boss is joining us now for a quick look at the week ahead. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Yeah, would you believe that snow over the weekend was our biggest snowfall for the year so far? We officially saw 1.5 inches in Spokane, and that puts our January snowfall total at a whopping 2.6 inches, which is way less snow than what we saw in November and December. Our seasonal snowfall total at 38 inches, which is still about 8 inches above normal. I'm thinking we're probably going to be ending the month with well below normal snowfall, because I'm not seeing a lot of snow in the forecast even as we get towards the end of the month. Things are actually going to be relatively quiet this week. We saw a few flurries, or some folks saw a few flurries early this morning, but otherwise just kind of mostly cloudy skies. A very typical dreary January day. Temperatures topping out right around freezing here in Spokane. It's currently 31 in Deer Park, 33 in Moses Lake, and the warmer temperatures down south in Lewiston and Walla Walla in the upper 30s and lower 40s. But no big changes in our weather over the next couple of days, just more of the same for tomorrow and into Wednesday. Mostly cloudy skies, some patchy fog here and there, lows in the 20s, highs in the 30s, but some big changes potentially on the way for the weekend, which could bring more snow and much colder weather.
All right, thank you very much, Michelle. Well, the suspect in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students wanted to work for the Pullman Police Department. Coming up here in about 3 minutes, what we know about Brian Koberger's one-on-one interview with the Pullman Police Chief just months before the murders.